Hey everybody, welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy Wednesday, happy hump day, all of the above. This is Dating Diaries. And I am your host, Christal XO. I am one half of Dating Diaries. You guys know the other half of Dating Diaries is, of course, Scorpio Mo.
Cheers. Happy Wednesday, everyone. Happy Wednesday, Christal.
Happy Wednesday. How was your week so far? How have you been?
Coasting through.
Coasting through? Okay. Okay, that's not bad.
And your third day of the week?
My third day of the week. I have news. I went to the WNBA game for the first time. That was my first time ever going to see a women's basketball game. It was packed. It was actually packed. It was at the convention center that's close to you. I can't remember. It's like International.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It was over there but it was very interesting. It's very different now. I think that seeing people really, really excited about women's basketball is so different than things were when we were growing up. You know?
Was it star-studded?
No.
Oh, I'm sure it was.
You think so?
Yeah, there's a lot of studs out there.
The but shame. I walked into that one. I didn't see it. That was, hey, Tina Bree. Well, congratulations for being on time. We appreciate that. We do appreciate that.
Hello, everyone. Marriott, Tina. How's everyone? L. Jackson.
Yes, in the building. Initially, I love that. We got a good show, but I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about the fact that I did love the game. I love the experience because, like I said, when we were growing up, people didn't care about women's basketball, women's sports, period. Now, I guess it was star-studded. However, that is actually funny. That is hilarious. Damani performed at halftime.
Who?
T.I.'s son.
Oh, my man.
Yeah.
Hold on. Which one? The rock star or the rapper?
No, not Bud. That's Buddy Red is the rock star.
Okay, cool.
Buddy Red is the rock star.
He's good at both.
Huh?
He's good at both.
Yeah, I mean, well, Damani is a rapper, but and DC Young Fly actually was his R&B singer.
He doesn't do that enough.
Really? I didn't know he did that. Because
okay.
I was like, he said, give it up for DC Young Fly. And I was like,
that guy's, you got to give it to him. He's talented.
I don't think he's that funny. I mean, let me not say that. He did a great job.
Yeah.
I didn't know he could sing like that.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know. That was it. It was DC Young Fly and Damani.
Did you hear about what happened last night?
I was there last night.
No, I don't know if it happened there.
What?
But someone that supposedly threw out a toy in the middle of a WNBA game.
It was there last night when I was there.
Should have known it was Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
A purple toy.
It was, and I wondered, what was that about? Like, why would somebody do that?
I heard it was an ex-girlfriend of one of the players.
Oh, I didn't know who did it. I just know that it went out and it hit the floor with a thud.
And it did.
The referee didn't know what to do. It was just a weird, because it's a family-friendly event. There were little kids there. And it was the kind that had the full package. You know, there's some of them that just have the top part. It had the accompaniment.
Explain, because I'm lost now.
Oh, there's some that only have the main part.
The love.
The hot dog and the bun. The peanuts with the
okay.
Yeah, it was all inclusive.
Oh yeah. Stud definitely threw that on out there. A man ain't gonna carry that around with him all day.
Well, we know that you have experience.
Hey, watch your mouth. Watch your mouth.
I'm just saying, if anybody would know what a stud carries around with them, it would be you.
They showed it to me. I just
But yeah, it was a good game, and I forgot to bring my products down here. I'll bring them Friday. I was there because I was I did a press trip with this new media. Well, no, with this company that I've known about for years, and a lot of you ladies. I'm sorry, my hair is really irritating me today. A lot of you ladies that watch may know about Honey Pot. The Honey Pot is a brand of products that is made for your honey pot, right? Literally. Everything from pads to tampons to wash to suppositories to napkins to wipes. Yeah, all of that.
Whatever.
Yeah, I mean that. But you know what? That's to my point, Mo. We need to normalize these products.
No, that's your business. Do your thing.
No, but if you have a woman that becomes your business, if you have a daughter that becomes your business, and I would just say to any fathers out there struggling with, if your daughter, has her end of the sentence pop up, go visit the good people over at the Honey Pot, because it is amazing what how many different products they have that all are there to service the Honey Pot.
Now, I do need to send me the thing. I need to add somebody and send them over there.
They have washes for to make sure that your pH balance is in a healthy space. They have it's really good. Seriously, a lot of the problems that people talk about, the pH balance is off. But I would just seriously say, like, even moms, like if your daughter is getting ready to become a woman, go online and look at the good folks in Honey Pot. They have got some amazing products.
They need to look at the good folks at Honey Pot.
What?
I know some grown people that need to check out the good folks at Honey Pot.
They had this thing there called Miss Coochie.
Oh Lord!
And it was a big coochie. It was fun. It was. She's a big puppet, like one of the kind that a person can be inside of.
Was it kids there?
No. At the game there were kids there because the Honey Pot is a sponsor for the WNBA, which I love, because when you think about womanhood and being active and, being able to take care of yourself while you're dealing with those things, that is a part of it. I just think that's great. And I love the fact that, now, Mo, I'll be honest, and those of you that watch this channel know, as a 5'2.5" person, I have had an aversion to tall girls. Because when I was growing up, tall girls were mean. Okay?
Gotcha.
They were mean. The girls that could play basketball, that were aggressive, they just seemed like they just always wanted to play and push you out of the way. One of my girlfriends is a former basketball player, and she's pretty tough. I haven't seen her fight, but I would bet money that she would do well. She's not afraid of things.
Would it be appropriate? Because I just thought about something. You were talking about the Honey Pot. Could they go around to schools?
I think so. Like, with sex education being what it is.
Right. That would be.
I think so. Yeah. I think that would be, they probably do, because they do a lot of different things and they basically take care of the Honey Pot from the beginning to the end. So it's periods all the way through menopause, just, and everything in between. When your daughter first is born and you're teaching her how to wash herself, you can use the Honey Pot products. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll have some products with me because I mean, I'm being funny, but I think it's really serious because I love the fact that this company is normalizing feminine products because it's a big part of a woman's life. And I think that men need to become more educated themselves because number one, so many of them have something to say about things that they may have run into, encounters they may have had. And perhaps it's because she needed products from the honey pot.
She's grown and she should have, man, listen.
Yeah, well, and maybe they need to start making some things for men. Maybe there need to be some jock itch potions or something. But their company is geared towards the vagina. Humans with vaginas, they said.
Okay.
But there definitely needs to be the other side of that because there is a cheesy residue that can be if people it's a hot summer, and I'm just gonna say that.
Okay.
It's a hot summer. And men have issues as well. Okay. People, period, have issues with, just making sure they stay fresh and so clean. But anyway, yeah, I used to have an aversion to the basketball players because they were just never nice to short girls.
I mean, they was probably felt awkward. It's always in every grade. There's that one girl they call Big Bird. She was awkward. She was taller than everybody else. And she didn't know where she fit in. And it probably made her hard and, hard shell and, you know what I'm saying? But, as everybody grows, some people catch up. But yeah, that's probably why. I knew a couple Big Birds.
Well, I didn't know if that was something that was called, but I do know that there was a girl on King's Court that's named Brianna that's tall. She looks like she's almost as tall as the wrestler guy. He's got to be 6'4", 6'5". She's got to be like 6 feet. And she said that it was, she would never be like the petite woman that petite, cute woman that men want to protect. But he actually put his hand on her shoulder. He did. He was like, he said, it's been a while. He said, it's been a while since I've been able to do. I mean, he just reached over like, it was like a locker room. It was weird. You know what I mean? I don't know if she liked that. I don't know, but he said he's attracted to women that are strong. So hey, anyway, I enjoyed the game. I saw Brittany Griner play. I didn't realize she actually played for the Atlanta Dream because I didn't even I had become familiar with her just because of her being in prison, overseas and all that. And I knew she was a basketball player because you can look at her and tell what else could she do. But I did not know that she played for the Atlanta Dream. So I actually got a chance to watch her play last night. And man, she definitely, I mean, those girls, let me tell you something. I think they could beat most guys. Maybe not all of them, because Clarissa Shields says she don't want to box a man. I don't blame her. But I'm just saying, Brittany Griner can probably beat 85% of men at basketball.
Now, see, this is where you taking it too far.
Do you think you could beat her?
No. We're saying most professional men. You're saying, right?
No, I didn't even say professional. I said most men.
Maybe the dudes. I don't. Maybe at a collegiate level. Maybe.
Possibly. I'm telling you, she was hustling and she was going hard in the paint. I think she was point guard. Maybe. Does that sound right? Let me see. I don't know. Hey, Consumer O. Let me see what she is. Let me see what she is. I felt like she was the point guard. Let's see here. What position does Brittany Griner play? But yeah, have you been to a game?
WNBA? No.
Yeah.
I would not go.
Why?
Maybe an all-star game, which I did see a little on television recently. They just had the all-star game a couple weeks ago. I did watch some of that. It's boring to me.
Well, that's rude.
I mean, why you think they don't sell? Why you think they were there and they don't sell tickets?
Hey, hold on. Don't do that. She plays center. Is center the same thing as point guard?
Definitely not.
Okay. I mean, that's not a funny thing. I don't know. I think that you're in the center and you're pointing, so I just thought it was the same thing. Okay.
She's a center, which means she's more of a defender than anything. Stands up, puts her
Yeah,
hand.
she was definitely,
Shaq,
yeah.
like Shaq was a center.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. She definitely seems like because she was the biggest person out there. And there was another girl, Alicia Gray, I think. Very good, very pretty, but just, that they are definitely beating men. If a man is not a professional athlete, hey, not that she's the Charles Oakley.
Charles Oakley, another center.
That is funny. That is hilarious. Just because I've been talking about Charles Oakley.
Well, and then Charles Oakley was known to be a tough guy.
Well, she is a tough girl.
So I've heard.
Yeah. So tonight we are going to be talking about prenups. So I want you guys, we have a guest that's going to join us in just a bit. I want you guys to have questions because it's a lawyer that's going to be joining us. And, I'm asking this, I thought this would be a good topic because Trump just allegedly, let me pull this up, passed a bill that says that if you are living with someone as 5 years or more, that you are married. Like before, we know like there was common law marriage, but now it's kind of like it's the same thing. You're just married.
I heard that was fake news. That like a month ago. I heard that.
Let me look it up.
If it is, then watch out. But I heard that was fake news.
Well, I want to ask him anyway. And I also wonder because there are states that do see common law marriage the same.
Oh yeah.
If
Georgia's one of them. I forget the years though. Every state is different, but we can ask them. Before.
Okay, so yeah, it says okay. It's okay. I'm just reading through this. Trump. Okay, so Trump said you're legally married if you're in a relationship 5+ years. There was no such law. I guess that's just his opinion.
No.
But that still lends a question like, what does that mean for people? And can you get a prenup if you are just in a common law situation? Before our expert comes on, what do you think about prenups, Mo? Would you, if you were to get married again, would you have a prenup?
Yeah, I get, because I think we have to determine exactly what a prenup is.
That's what we need to do tonight.
Yeah, because from what I understand, it's not what people think it is. It's just a contract stating if there is a divorce, then what is stipulation? You could get half if you guys agree. It's whatever you guys agree upon at that moment. It doesn't mean that she gets nothing, doesn't mean that she gets half. It's whatever you guys, it's a contract.
Right.
I've seen stuff where if for every year person, like say if someone's cheated, then the woman, this is billionaire stuff, they would get 10 million for every year they were married or some crazy stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So whatever the two people decide, that's a prenup. It's just an agreement after the marriage if there should be a divorce.
I'm interested to hear how does that work and what his opinions are on that. So would you do that though?
If I was rich before they came, yes.
What if you were not rich before they came?
And that's the interesting part, because I've seen people who are doing all right and still get wiped out and still have to pay, some type of monies. So I think it just covers everyone on some just in case stuff. We get it. To me, it's insurance.
Yeah, I've heard someone say that it's the same as if you have car insurance, right? And I will say this, like you guys know, I am a hopeful romantic. I don't believe in saying hopeless, but I'm definitely hopeful. But I also realize just after living, on this planet for quite a while, that no matter what you wish and how much you hope, there's a thin line between love and hate. And it seems like the couples, It's so weird, and I've been through it myself, so I don't understand it. It's like a person that you can be so excited about. It's weird that you could love a person so much and then they become public enemy number one.
Do you think that depends on how the divorce came about? Infidelity?
I would think, but I don't know, because I know couples that they don't have infidelity, right? There's not been infidelity. First of all, I think a lot of people do not really value marriage. I want to say that. I think most people, in my opinion, most people really don't. They're not really in it for real. They're just playing, right? And then they've been married, and they just playing around. They're not for real. But when you're for real, to me, it's hard to think that you would give up for anything less than like domestic abuse, drug abuse, infidelity, obviously, and or like financial, like I know people that their spouse has that could be like a drug, like a gambling addiction, or their spouse, lies to them about how much money that they have, and they end up realizing that they're broke. And honestly, I would tell you the truth. In my opinion, and I know my opinion is very rare. In my opinion, even stuff like that, like if you love that person loves you, you're supposed to try to work through. If they have a weakness, you're not supposed to leave them because of that, right? But most people in this world don't give a damn, and they will just leave whenever something doesn't feel right for them. You there says some people grow apart. Yeah, I don't really believe in growing apart. You're going to grow apart from anybody. You and I have been friends for over 20 years. Our friendship started because we worked together like almost every day, right? So once I was no longer your publicist and you were no longer doing music, we could have easily grown apart, right?
Yeah, but I think that's for the younger people.
No, these old people are saying they grew apart.
That part I don't get.
Because when we met, we were in our 30s. I was barely 30.
You were barely 30, right?
I was 29, in fact. And so, but I'm saying, so we were young. So I'm just saying we're friends. It would be easy to say, well, I don't work with you anymore. And we're not working on a project. We don't have that in common. I'm just giving an example of how it would be easy to grow apart from a friend. I have friends that I've had since I was in elementary school that we do two different things. We're on two different parts of the country. We're still friends.
Together every day. That's the difference.
We don't. But I'm saying, if you can grow apart from a friendship, if you can fight not to grow apart from a friendship, then you can fight not to grow apart from a marriage. Right. People just don't take marriage seriously. So it's like, oh, I no longer want to do that. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's the problem. It's in my humble opinion. But I also know that people get married for different reasons, right?
Do you think, like, as a friendship, a person can go to their house, we cannot speak to a week? It's like a boxer going into their corner. You go to your corner, you go to your, or you tell that to kids. You go to your room, you go to your room. They're both fighting, and they take time out. It's kind of hard to take time out when you live with the person.
But you can. But you also understand the stakes are higher.
That part.
I agree, it's not as easy. But then I also didn't stand up before God and pledge my friendship to you.
That's a fact.
So once you do that, then you ought to take that serious. But I just feel like in the culture that we are, people don't take it serious because it doesn't fit what they want at the moment. So they play with people's feelings, and it's not cool. But the point is, and I think everybody does that, it's the easy way out to divorce and not push through the hard times. Thank you, Mimi. That's what people do. It's the easy way out. And then guess what? You end up finding someone else, and then you end up in the same position, if not worse.
One of the toughest things to do is manage other people.
Man, you can't. It's damn near impossible.
And that's what it is. It's like every, you want the relationship, you love the love, but when it comes to putting in the work to manage it, it's in that responsibility. Not everybody's up for the task. We say we.
Hey, stop it. I think most people are not up for the task, which is why we have a guest hopefully about to join us shortly. I just so with that being said, the way most people view marriage, prenups are necessary because you're going into it. And I heard a guy say this today. I was watching the My Future Wifey podcast, and the guy that has Gary Chapman was on there that has the book, The 5 Love Languages. And he was saying that there's a certain amount of dopamine, which I love that reality of that, the science behind that, of what, when you first meet somebody, you're excited about them, you're attracted to them, you are looking at like, oh my gosh, this person is great. And that lasts for 18 months, not quite 2 years.
Woo.
That euphoric stage, right? Of that person is so awesome. You're probably being very intimate. You are, seeing all the good stuff. You haven't settled down into reality, right? And then there are a lot of people that they become addicted to that high, and they like to, experience that. They get addicted to that, and they could be like, oh, now I don't like that person anymore. And they want to go off and find someone else and have that same euphoric feeling. But he said, that's not what you should base real marriage on. Marriage should not be based on that euphoric state. But unfortunately, most people do, because we get excited and we get married. And then after that euphoria wears off, and we start to look at the person and see their pimples and see all the things about their stomach is kind of hanging over their pants, and they're an ugly sleeper, and maybe they have some issues that now I see that are coming to the forefront. Now I don't like you anymore. And so that, for that reason, I think a lot of people probably do need to have prenups, because most people are not getting married for the marriage. They're getting married because they're on this dopamine trip. See, if you're divorcing over snoring, ma'am, you do not need to get married. Do not get married if you're divorcing over snoring, because that can happen to a person if they all of a sudden go through something and they gain weight, or they have some allergy issues. Like, people can snore for all types of reasons. Let me check on Paisley really quickly. Mo, can you entertain the people and talk about the reasons for divorce and why prenups could be important?
Got you. Listen, man, cover your. I personally think that they're important because it's an insurance, right? If you're in a situation where, I think the obvious is the person that came in there with a certain amount of money, right? And they built up a business, or they had an inheritance, a lot of money, millions of dollars, whatever the case may be, right? And then you get someone that comes in. I'm gonna give you an example, right? Tony Braxton and Birdman, right?
Woo.
They were together. I don't know if it was as long as they said, but it was over 10 years, right?
Yeah. But it was off and on, right?
Only married for 6 months.
Right.
And then Miss Braxton, depending on the state, because I think the thing in where they live or where they claim residence, so on and so forth. And then to come in there and ask for, I think it was like 18 million. It was like a ridiculous amount, right? And these are the things that need to be in place for stuff like, to me, for stuff like this, just the protection of it, because you just never know. But then again, you got something and you build with someone. She helped you. She may be, I don't know, she could have been a secretary. She could have done research for you, or just gave you the piece for you to handle your business. And you got to the point, let's say in the 5th year, your business really, really took off. She was able to quit her job and take care of the kids, no more, whatever. And at some point, do I feel like that? Yes. Is that deserving of something? Yes, but I think it should be a one-time deal, kind of like the Nicole Murphy situation. Lump sum here, you mess it up, and she did. But that's what I believe in. But to continue to pay, because how a lot of athletes get in trouble is because they're in situations like that, and then alimony, child support, and then they're no longer playing, and the money does not drop, and then there's interest on the money.
Right.
All these things. That's how it winds up getting in trouble. So I believe constant payments, but if you're at a certain status where you can give a lump sum and be done with it. But for what I understand, a lot of times the alimony, I don't know, and maybe they could tell us, is up until they get married, or it used to be. Now they have a cap on it, and then she'll decide, well, I'll never get married, and then she can continue to get the money, but she has a man.
Yeah. That's crazy. What about, I think about like Simon and Portia. That is so weird because I was listening to, are you familiar with Portia from the Housewives and Simon Gbadi or whatever, the
yes, I am.
Nigerian businessman that
yes
may or may as allegedly was a scammer. So she reached out to him. They got to it in this past reunion of the Housewives. She reached out to him. She knows that he has all this money, and a lot of women have started dating Africans because of their generous nature when it comes to their finances. At least that's what I've heard. Hold on, this is our guest. Hold on.
Heard.
Hello.
Hey, this is Kirk Stange calling you back.
Hey, I was just calling because I talked to, I guess, your publicist, and we had, she said that you were good for an interview. Did she send you the link?
She did. I'm trying to get, I'm saying asking to be let in is what it says.
Oh, wow. Oh, no. That's the wrong one. Can I text this number?
Yeah.
I'll text you with the correct link.
It looks like she just sent me a different one now. She just sent me, let me try this other one.
Oh.
But yeah, you can text it to me too.
And then we have y'all. Cover yourself. And let's be clear on this situation. This can happen to women too. Halle Berry, for instance. But I think that no, not Halle Berry. I am sorry. Mary J. Blige. Mary J. Blige had an incident. I mean, she didn't have any children. She was married and had to pay alimony to this fellow.
She still has to pay alimony to him.
I thought it ended, but she still has to pay. So that's what I mean. Like, it's not, because I know the stereotypical way is the woman get money, but it can go both ways.
Yeah, and hey, you there said Kelly Clarkson, she got to pay that man. And that's, I guess we look at it like it's unfair when it's a woman because it's just not, that's just not how it used to be. But more and more nowadays, there are women that are having to pay the man. Y'all think, getting with these guys and he's attractive and he's younger. And then, the next thing you know, y'all split up and he wants his piece. He wants his piece of the pie.
Do you think it's, and be honest, do you think it's a hustle out there for some people?
Yeah, I think for both sides. I just said with Portia, I definitely think with Portia, it was a hustle. I think she saw this man that had this money. She wants a lifestyle. And I think a lot of people don't realize, like, if you want to look like you have that much money, it's difficult to keep that up every day, to drive this Rolls Royce, to be in this car, the upkeep of that house, the upkeep of that car, the upkeep of the constant designer label clothes, new ones all the time, so you're not seen, being able to vacation because you've got a lifestyle now that has to fit the Real Housewife stereotype, right? So you need somebody that has long money to really be able to help you keep that up. Because even with what she was doing before with Dish Nation and all that stuff, it wasn't paying her enough to where she would be able to live this particular lifestyle. So you got to look, the other girl that's a friend of hers is married to an African man, and they actually have a family. They've been married for, I think, around 10 or 11 years. And their house is a $9 million house. So Portia's trying to do that, and you cannot do that the way she's living. So she saw Simon. He had the ability to do that. She slides in his DM. She slid in his DM and said, "I'm praying for you."
Oh, that's how she go. Yeah.
That's what she said. "I'm praying for you." So of course he looks at her page and she doesn't look like a prayer warrior. So he reaches out. Next thing you know, that's true. Praying. Oh, that's good, Nola. That he should have listened to it. "I'm praying for you." Really, I'm praying on you. So she ends up in a situation where they're married and she's got this big house. She has access to all this money. And then they get divorced 15 months later. Now, what I don't understand is because they were only married for 15 months. So how can you establish a lifestyle in that amount of time? Like, to me, you cannot establish, and she was still working. She still had income. I think it's different if you get with a man that has that much money. Hey, Haitian Empress, welcome. You get with a man that has that much money, and he basically convinces you to quit your job so you can, be waiting on him hand and foot. That's different. But if you're working and he's working and you're married for 15 months, how do you get? But according to the reports, she got quite a lump sum.
She ran it up. She went under his roof and ran it up.
She did. So we're gonna get into this. We have our guest just dropped in, and this is attorney Kirk Stange, and he is an expert on all things prenups, prenuptials. First of all, Kirk, thank you so much for joining us tonight. My name is Christal, and this is my co-host, Scorpio Mo, and we talk about dating and relationships. But we thought, with all this stuff happening on social media with celebrity marriages and there was an alleged fake news about Trump saying that, people that have been cohabitating for a certain amount of time could be looked at as married. Some states do that. We just say, you know what, let's have an expert come on and let's figure out what is going on with prenuptial agreements. So first of all, thank you for agreeing to come be our expert tonight.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure.
Well, we look forward to hearing what you have to say. The first thing, just so we start at the beginning, can you define what a prenup is? Because I'm not going to lie, I've been a celebrity publicist for years, and for a long time I thought prenuptial agreements only pertain to people that were multimillionaires.
Yeah, well, I mean, more and more people are doing it. I mean, they're written documents that people have put together before the marriage. You can do a postnup after you're married, but not many people do that. I mean, at that point, it's hard to get the other party to sign one, but it's a written document put together preferably before people get married, and it deals with property and debt division in the case of divorce. You can deal with spousal maintenance, which is still called alimony in some jurisdictions. You can deal with attorney fees, like what would happen there. Does each party pay their own fees, or is one party going to pay part of the other party's attorney fees? And you could deal with various other issues as well, but it can really simplify a divorce on the back end. If a divorce, ends up taking place, it can take a lot of issues off the table and make it easier.
I like that.
So we were saying, I also feel like for a long time, I felt like, a prenup was kind of like, almost like a foreshadowing of a curse, right? So if my first time I got married, if my husband at the time, I was really young, so neither of us had anything. But if he had said, "I want you to sign a prenup," I automatically would have taken that to mean that he didn't believe that the marriage was going to last. Do you think that, and I've heard someone say, and most of it earlier this evening, that a prenup is literally just insurance, the same we would have on a car. Do you think that every marriage needs a prenuptial agreement?
Well, I mean, one of the things I would say is if people are able to do a prenuptial agreement, they're able to come to an agreement on a prenuptial agreement, then it could really, I think, in a lot of ways, be a good sign that a divorce isn't going to happen. Because where a lot of people end up getting divorced is they can't communicate, they can't agree on issues. And if you're actually able to make this thing happen and enter a prenuptial agreement, to me, that's not a bad thing. It's actually a good sign that you're able to compromise, you're able to talk through issues. And from my vantage point, I think I've seen very few people come back after doing a prenup to actually get a divorce. So I think they're good things. So I think, some folks will say we got no money, there's nothing here. Why do a prenup? And I think, that's an argument for a lot of people. But I think anybody who's acquired, certain amount of income, certain amount of wealth, they built up some assets. I think a prenup is just a smart thing. But I think it's true. A lot of people, would mirror your sentiments that it's like, oh, this is foreshadowing a divorce. This is a bad thing. And I think that's a lot of reason, why a lot of people don't do it, even though it is a good idea.
I wonder how many people, because there was a former basketball player, Steven Jackson, who on his wedding day, his wife still didn't sign. And he said he wasn't walking down the aisle until she did. And it happened. And that people flew in, half of the NBA flew in, and it just never happened. So, and I wonder how many divorces never happen because one person doesn't want to sign or agree.
Or how many marriages? You mean how many marriages don't happen?
I mean, it didn't happen.
Yeah, I see that, and I can think of one case in particular that I've never really forgotten where, we got pretty deep in prenuptial agreement negotiations. They were going to get married, and it was actually a client of mine. I did his divorce, and then he came back later. He's like, I'm gonna get married again. I want you to do a prenup. And they started arguing and bickering, and it just wasn't going well. They ended up doing a commitment ceremony. And they bought each other rings, did a commitment ceremony, and just said, we're just going to do this,
I like it.
Yeah, and that's
okay, that brings me to my question, though, Kurt, because, so it was obviously fake news that Trump made this statement. But I do know that there are certain states that if you have been living with somebody for more than 5 years, you can actually, during a separation, when you guys go your separate ways, you could get stuff from them, right? Because I guess it could be considered community property. So if you are living with someone,
right,
is a prenup solely for the actual marriage? Because that client of yours, even though they had a commitment ceremony, same rules apply. It's not very different, with you. So what is the difference between actually getting married? Say you don't have a prenup. I am in a commitment ceremony with my guy, as opposed to being married. What are the differences? Is there a possibility for a person that has a commitment only to get just as much in a separation as someone that actually got a formal divorce?
It's a complicated question, but most states have abolished common law marriage, which is the idea that you're living together and it's tantamount to marriage. That's pretty much abolished now. I'm only licensed in Missouri, Illinois, Kansas, so maybe, and I know in those states it's abolished now. Maybe there's other states that still allow it in some circumstances, but as a whole, if you don't walk down the aisle and do the ceremony and get the license, you're not married, and so there's really not a lot of common law marriages out there. Is the other question, what folks can do if you're going to live together, you're not going to be married, you can do what's called a cohabitation agreement, which is very similar to a prenuptial agreement. And that's a contract that says, hey, we're going to be living together, we're going to cohabitate, but if this doesn't work out and we're going to split up, here's how we're going to divide everything and how things are going to work. So I think that's also a really great idea for folks, but not a lot of folks think about it. I think most people don't even know what a cohabitation agreement is, and certainly a commitment ceremony, again, that's ceremonial. So that shows a commitment. You're buying a ring, you're doing a ceremony, but it really has no legal effect in and of itself beyond we're committed and we're going to be together. And you buy rings like you're married, but you're not technically married. But it makes everybody feel better. It makes everybody feel like there's a commitment there. And again, some folks, are together a long time. Goldie Hawn, Kurt Russell, never got married. For some folks, it works better. Works a heck of a lot better.
Yeah. Tammy asked, if you sign on your wedding day, could that be considered to be signing under duress?
Yeah, it definitely can. There's not a bright line rule, but there's specific requirements that need to take place for a prenup to really stand the best chance of being enforceable. And one of them is no duress, no coercion, no undue influence. And so there's not a bright line rule, but I always get nervous when people come to me and, it's less than 30 days from the wedding and they want to do a prenup. I mean, at that point, the malpractice risk on the part of the attorney is high, So I think the further away from the wedding date, the better for beginning the process of negotiating a prenuptial agreement. And that, and that's a lot of case law out there will say the same thing. So yeah, the day of the wedding, really, really problematic. The further away, the better.
Even if
enforceability.
What's that? Out, because from what I understand, he gave it to her 6 months before and she just never signed it.
Yeah. It's trouble. Again, it's not a bright line rule, but I mean, the typical things you want for a prenup to hold up is both parties need independent counsel. So parties both have to have a lawyer in different law firms.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Like I can't recommend, like if I'm doing husband, soon to be husband, and he says, hey, who should my fiance hire? It's like, I can't tell you. She's going to have to find her own attorney. She's going to have to find her own. And then you have to do a full disclosure of assets and debts, which that's really uncomfortable for people. You gotta list out everything that you have and, all your debts, and you got to put it on the table. And if you don't, that's a problem. Oh. And then, yeah, no duress, no fraud, no undue influence. But the tricky thing is it's up to one judge, because when somebody files for divorce, if there's a prenup, that's disclosed, and then the prenup is furnished to the court, and then one judge decides. If the other side files a motion to set it aside, then it's just up to one judge. To set that, whether or not to set it aside. And yeah, the day of the wedding, the day before, a judge could uphold it, but as a lawyer, if I were doing that, I'd have a very long letter written to my client that would say, hey, look, this is a day or two before the wedding. If you want to have this thing, signed, we could do it, but you realize there's a big risk this could be set aside, and you understand that, and the better bet would be to push off that wedding date another 6 months and do it then. And if you, because that's something I always do with prenups is I'll write a long letter to my client that explains the risk, and I make them sign it and give it back to me. That way, 5, 10, 20 years later, they want to sue me. I'll be like, hey, I told you.
Yeah. Here it is.
I told you this was a problem, right? Yeah.
I've heard of situations where the divorce is actually happening and people are hiding things, things for $1, putting stuff in other people's name until the divorce is over, from to property and all kind of stuff. Does that happen a lot?
I mean, I wouldn't say a lot, but it definitely happens. There's some people, a lot of times when people get caught, they'll say, well, I just forgot about that asset. Oh, I didn't know I had that. I have stock options through my job. Oh, you know what I mean? They feign ignorance, or, sometimes they actually are ignorant. So it's a fine line as attorney. Did they purposely conceal it, versus just forgetting? Obviously, you get to the sophistication of the clients. But if somebody, and then somebody's pretty sophisticated, it's hard to believe that they forgot. But it looks really bad, and judges can really hold that against somebody. So it's a really bad idea to do that. That can burn somebody big time on the back end.
Let me ask you this. Another question that came in earlier tonight was like, when you have a blended family, so people that have been married previously that may have children, do you believe that a prenup can help protect children? So like my godfather, he decided not to get married because he has children, his wife has children, and he was afraid that what he had could go to her children, and what she had, been left by her ex-husband, by her deceased husband, could be potentially, her children didn't want anything going to him. So they just decided not to. But I know that there are a lot of people that are in the situation where they have children, even young children or grown children. And it's like, does a prenup, is a prenup, I guess is the goal of the prenup to protect the children also that would be like heirs to whatever each parent has?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things people want to do too is you want to have an estate plan and the prenup, and they need to not contradict each other. They all need to be consistent with one another. I mean, that's a huge thing, and certainly when you got blended families and second marriages, and you get, at times too, you get the kids thinking, oh my gosh, is new husband, new wife going to get, my share of your assets, that I was supposed to get, and it can cause fighting, when somebody does pass away. So. Yeah, for sure, it's a big issue, but it's really important, I think, for most people. When you do the prenup, if you don't have an estate plan, then have one done. If you had one done previously, then you give a copy of that to the attorney and say, hey, we might need to update this, tweak it to make it consistent with the prenup, because you don't want there be inconsistency in there. That can cause big legal problems and big legal dilemmas.
Mm.
Let's ask Kirk about this. I'm curious because we see these marriages and divorces play out on social media. So I'm wondering if we had one of the ladies on the Housewives is on Real Housewives of Atlanta.
Yeah.
They, got married. The guy was married to someone else. They started started dating. And then she reached out to comfort him as he broke up, supposedly, and they get married. Now they're only married for 15 months.
Right.
There is no prenup because, she's a beautiful woman, and, I guess prenup goes out the window when you see a beautiful woman. Right. So in the divorce terms, it's hard for me to understand. They have no children together, right? She was working, so it's not like she quit her job to become this housewife or to do anything different. Her lifestyle for 15 months couldn't have changed that much. But in this divorce, she was awarded $40,000 a month in alimony. Wow. For 15 months. And then he also has to pay her legal fees. Why? How could that possibly happen, Kurt?
Yeah, I mean, maintenance statutes can be quite broad. Okay, I mean, certain states have like formulas that they put into play, and it's based on length of the marriage and the income. Illinois is a state where that's the case. I'm licensed in Illinois. They added that in. I know Florida. I'm not licensed down there, but I've read stuff that their statutes are pretty specific in terms of the years, and you're looking at more formulas. But the problem with spousal maintenance, like Missouri, where I've predominantly practiced throughout my career, and I don't know about Georgia, I'm not licensed there, but in Missouri, and I think this is pretty typical for how maintenance statutes are. They're very broad. It gives a judge a bunch of discretion. So it's kind of like a three-part test. And test one is the person seeking maintenance, are they able to meet their reasonable needs based on their income? Okay. If somebody's in the negative, then you're jumping to step two. And you say, okay, they can't meet their needs based on their income. So then you look at the other person and you say, okay, what are their needs, and do they have extra money in which they could help the other person meet their needs? And if you get past that hump, you're like, okay, past hump one, past hump two, then hump three is a bunch of subjective factors like length of the marriage, education of the parties, and all these. In some states like Missouri, conduct of the parties during the marriage. Other states have abolished that, like Illinois. That's not, some states you don't look at marital misconduct and these kinds of things. But I mean, long story short, I don't know the specifics of this case, but if she had a reasonable need, of course, you can really get into somebody's expenses and say, well, going to the salon 7 days a week, is that reasonable? You know what I mean? I mean, these are the arguments people that don't want to pay start arguing. Do you really need that 5,000 square foot house? Is that reasonable? And you can really get in the weeds in this, but. If somebody has a deficit and the other person's got a bunch of money, like they're pretty wealthy, that's where, and then you get to subjective factors. And, I know from doing this a long time too, there's some judges, like when you get into politics, conservative, liberal, these kinds of things in family law, I know, there's certain judges that like maintenance. They seem to be very pro maintenance, so award it. I know other judges are kind of like, no, you should pull yourself up, and I don't like maintenance. You should get a job. But yeah, I mean, if this person had a bunch of money in front of the right judge, these kinds of things could happen. It's all the more reason to have a prenup, though, because you have that prenup.
It sounds like it's important to get a judge that likes maintenance, because for that reason,
you get judges that like it. I just do judges, you just know they kind of like it, just like there's some judges that like 50-50 custody, different topic, but some judges who think every other weekend for the non-custodial parent, right? You get judges with their kind of ideas and thoughts, and it, it can happen. I mean, if it's for temporary basis, some judges would say, well, that's just rehabilitative maintenance. You're just giving them time to get back on their feet, kind of thing. But yeah, it hurts on a short-term marriage.
That's crazy. But I wonder. So then there's other situations where Mo and I were talking before you jumped on, where the spouse that has the overflow, right, has more money, actually has to pay that alimony until in perpetuity, until the other person gets married, or just until they're not here. In fact, my uncle's like that. He has to pay alimony. They were married 20 years and did have 3 children. They've been divorced now almost 20 years, and he still I mean, that is just a bill that is tied around his neck for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
It's painful. It's painful. I've had many clients like that, and that, I mean, a lot of states are this way, okay, and people should speak to a lawyer in their jurisdiction and kind of advise them on it. But Missouri is very much this way, which is that when somebody gets divorced, unless you can point to a specific date in the future where there will no longer be a need, then that's what courts typically do at trial. They'll order maintenance, and it'll be indefinite. It's modifiable, and you can come back to try to terminate it if you think there's a change of circumstance of a substantial or continuing basis, or somebody gets remarried. But yeah, it could go long term, and then to come back to try to have it terminated costs you a bunch of money, attorney fees, and certainly too, I've had these cases. I mean, plenty of cases. One case I'll never forget, where the people were living together, and the wife's getting maintenance, but she's not going to marry a boyfriend because then the maintenance check's gone. My guy wants to terminate it. My guy was pretty sick, was a former physician, but now he's sick. He can't work anymore. He don't want to pay it no more. And we're going to have to go through trial. And what you do in some of these cases, you buy them out. It's like, okay, we'll give you a big lump sum of money. Can we then end this? And then that happened. And then she gets married within like a week, marries the guy. It's clearly that was the only reason why she wasn't getting married. But yeah, the maintenance thing is a tough deal, where some people 20, 30 years later still paying the ass. Still paying, and that hurts. That's never. It never feels good.
This is how people come up missing. Listen, this is the thing. Like, can you add child support into that, factor that into the prenup, or no? Or is that separate?
Yeah, you can. I mean, that's something. I mean, kids of the marriage, you can't deal with custody of those kids and child support in a prenup. And keep in mind, a lot of times the kids aren't even born at this point. So how are you gonna? How would you even deal with that or whatever? You know what I mean? So that's a lot of the rationale. We can't deal with custody of kids that aren't even born yet.
I heard that people did that. Like, I heard that there was a guy that did a prenup, and he was a much, much older gentleman, right, very, very wealthy, young, beautiful bride. And he wanted, for each child that she had, she got a bonus.
Okay.
Amount of money. So, that, because I guess he wanted an heir. So if she had one child, she got so many millions, another child, an additional amount. So I was just like, that is, but it just
like in child support or in some other kind of payment. I mean, like in theory, again, I mean, the fine print matters in terms of how it's worded in there. But I mean, you couldn't presumptively say, okay, here's how we're going to do 50-50 custody if we ever get divorced. I know these kids aren't born, but this is what we're going to do. It's like, well, we don't know if they're going to be boys, girls, they got special needs, or what the deal is. So you can't do that, and you can't agree on, you can't agree on child support preemptively either. I mean, the kids aren't born. You could do certain things in prenups, though. I mean, in theory, like sunset clauses or something that's there. Like you could in a prenup say, well, here's what you're going to get if we're married less than 10 years. But once we reach 10 years, now you're going to get more. So, I mean, in theory, you could try to word this. And when we have kids, then like maybe you would get, more maintenance in the case of divorce, or I would pay your attorney fees in that instance. But you couldn't, I don't know. Maybe a lot of courts do interesting things, but typically you can't deal with the custody and the support itself.
Okay, that makes sense. Marriott asked, are postnups any good?
Yeah, I mean, postnuptial agreements are good things. Again, the issue is just like, if somebody is lukewarm on wanting to do it, what incentive do you have to get them to sign it at that point? You know, I mean, once you're married, once you've walked down the aisle, you're like, hey, I know we've been married 6 months or a year, and I know I'm worth millions, but would you like to sign a prenup now, waiving all your interest if we get divorced? Like, most people are going to be like, no, you should have asked me to do that. You should have asked me to do that before. But
that off.
yeah, so I just think, I mean, at least from my personal experience, you know, the prenup way more common than a postnup. Sometimes people do postnups. I mean, I think a common situation on a postnup, from my experience, is like, okay, you're married, you're having marital problems. Things aren't going good. And like maybe you're thinking about getting divorced. You know what I mean? But you're doing counseling, you're doing these things, but you know it ain't good. So then you start kind of negotiating these financial things. You're like, okay, this isn't good. We're going to keep trying. You know, we're going to keep trying. But if this goes south and we end up getting divorced, this is how it'll be. You know, that's
so
the
could
most.
that help? Could that help the divorce go a lot easier?
Well, prenups make divorces go a lot easier as a whole. Again, the deal is this: I mean, you know, the requirements have to be met, and what people don't want to do, like, don't find a form on the internet and print it off, you know, and just sign it. You know, don't. I see a lot of people want to do this. Like, we'll have one attorney do it for both of us. No, that's a conflict of interest. One attorney can't represent you both. And it's not good. And I've seen this where people will go, okay, fine, I'll hire you, and my fiance just won't have an attorney. It's like, no, that's not. No. She needs to get somebody.
Yeah.
She needs to get. So if you do them right and they're enforceable, then it'll take property and debt division off the table. It can take spousal maintenance off the table. It can take attorney fees off the table. And so then what you're left with is child custody and child support. Those are your issues that are still there, but it takes all these other issues off the table, which can tremendously simplify divorce. And if there's no kids, then it basically resolves everything.
It should. So it sounds like if there's a couple that's out there that is in the throes of divorce, and they don't want to pay, because divorces can be very lengthy and very expensive.
Right.
Does it make sense to just say, you know what, let's just do a postnup, and then, you know, we can go our separate ways, and then we won't have to deal with court? Sounds like that's a wonderful option.
Yeah, I mean, there's some potential problems with that. I mean, in theory, it could work. And other options, a legal separation. I mean, you can do a legal separation versus a divorce. But obviously, if you're still married, you know, then you could deal with taxes. You know, you're going to do joint taxes together. And then you're dealing with health insurance issues. And then, of course, you know, what if you meet somebody, a new love? You know, how are they going to feel about you still being married, you know, to somebody, you know? So, I mean,
I think you definitely want the divorce, but what if you get the prenup and, the postnup, and that just helps you navigate the way the divorce should go?
Well, that's right. That's the issue. And again, that it will navigate the way it'll go. But it's just a lot of people, from my experience, you know, particularly, I mean, if you're the person with less assets or less income, those people are, you know, not wanting any part of a prenup. You know, the person who's got the money wants the postnup. The person who's got the money is all about it.
Yeah. Tammy asked, what are bona fide grounds for an annulment as opposed to a divorce?
Yeah, I mean, fraud, namely. Okay, so, I mean, you fraud in the inducement of the marriage. And so this could be all kinds of things potentially. Let's say somebody is not able to have kids and they don't disclose that. Okay. You know, that could be an issue. Let's say somebody is not candid about, I mean, this is, you know, taboo topic. Okay. I get it, but their sexual orientation. I remember one time having a client of our firm, a female client, her husband gay, and didn't tell her. And she's like, well, I wouldn't have got married had I known that, so it's fraud in the inducement. You know, let's say somebody says, I'm rich, I got tons of money, and frankly, they're broke as, you know what I mean? Broke as could be. That could be.
What if they are, because I had a situation like this, a friend, where she just realized the husband that she just married less than a year ago had been having an affair from day one. Like, never was all, and to me, it seemed like that should have been grounds for an annulment because it's fraud. I mean, but the courts in Baltimore, they said no.
They said no. Yeah. I mean, the tough part about it is this. I mean, if the folks will agree to an annulment and stipulate to that, then it's easy. But then if the other party won't, then the judge has to rule on it, and it's fraud in the inducement. I mean, I think conceptually that could be enough for some judges to rule that an annulment is. I mean, if the spouse was cheating right out of the gates and was even cheating before, I mean, I think that could be enough, but I guess that particular judge said no. But yeah, I mean, it's a material failure to disclose something, and it's not like an innocuous thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, everybody got that little private part of their life that they probably don't divulge to their fiance, that little secret. Like that's not enough. It's got to be something big and material in which somebody would, no way,
What if somebody had a child and didn't tell you they had a child?
A child before the marriage and they didn't say? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not though, I mean, it's a fine line. Is that a material? I mean, I guess the question would be, is this child just out there and living with the other parent and not really part of the marriage and isn't going to be around? But if you could argue conceptually like, wait, I didn't know you had another kid. Now this kid's going to be living with us.
Yeah.
Maybe you could argue it, but that, I haven't personally experienced that one.
There you go. It's a lot of guys that came home from Vietnam that had to go.
That's right. They got kids in Southeast Asia. Nobody knew about them. Yeah. Well, sometimes people too. I've had a lot of cases too, frankly. I shouldn't say a lot, but I've had a good chunk of cases where, one day it's a little knock on the door, and there's like a teenager standing there saying, "Hey, Dad," and the guy didn't know. Yeah. You know
That's
what I mean?
rough.
Yeah, I've had that happen. And then
That's crazy.
the mom's like, "Yeah, sorry, I didn't tell you. And by the way, I want back child support for all these years."
Yeah, we have heard that. I have heard that. Well, I don't want to keep you so. I appreciate your time. You have been so amazing. I do want to ask you one more question because we started this out. I talked to your publicist about just the ideas around prenups from my generation, where back in when we were growing up, the idea of a prenup seemed relegated specifically to people that were very wealthy. And then it also suggested there was some, mistrust and maybe, suspicion of things happening. Do you think that in your cases and the people that you talk to and work with on a daily basis, the attitude towards prenuptial agreements is changing? And if so, why?
I do think it's changing. I think more and more people are, understanding that, it's a good safeguard. It's a good protection. It's not forecasting a divorce at all. It's just simplifying, the divorce on the back end. So yeah, it is more and more common. It's less and less taboo. I mean, look, I'm here today and we're talking about it, which I think in and of itself shows it's less taboo and people are more open to it. But the reasons why some people still just don't do it is like they're in love. You know what I mean? I'm in love and this is going to work and this is always going to work. And so it's, and obviously you want that to be the case for everybody, but it isn't the case for everybody.
Yeah.
But I think definitely folks should think about it, even if they're not rich, even if they're not wealthy. I think it's a good idea to do it. And it can, again, I think personally, it's like, premarital counseling is an important thing for people before they get married. You talk through things, you work through things, you make sure you're on the same page and these kinds of things. And I think the prenup can be part of that process. Nice. And it's like, if you can't agree to these kinds of items before the marriage, then maybe you just do that commitment ceremony and you don't get married. But if you can't talk about these things, then I think that's a bad sign. And if you can, then I think that's a good sign.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense, especially with the if you can't communicate and come to an agreement, then it could be a sign that this is not what we need to do. Because I do have one more question for you because he's about War of the Roses, right? Yeah. And I just know as an attorney, I cannot imagine. I have a friend that's an attorney here, and she's actually a divorce attorney. She's like the kind that will like chase you down, like, hey, is your husband cheating? Let's get him, let's get him. Let's take him for everything he got. And I wonder, like, why do you think, just in the divorces that you've been involved with over the years, what is that thing that changes it from love to hate? It becomes like the person that I had all this excited dopamine, this 18 months of amazing, I love them. They all of a sudden can become your biggest enemy to the point where it is hate. It's crazy. What do you, just from what you've seen, could you explain what you think makes that change and how does that happen?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of reasons for it, and it's different situations. But yeah, I mean, certainly, I think there's an emotional aspect of it for a lot of people, where people feel like, okay, you want a divorce, they feel rejected, and they feel let down, and they feel like promises were broken, and they thought the marriage was going to be this, and it turned out to be that. And so, there's a certain element of people that I think it's just this emotional thing, and versus living life kind of optimistically, like, look, things happen in life for a reason. And if this was meant to work out, it would have worked out, but it wasn't meant to work out. So I'm looking forward to my future, and I'm going to have better days, and the right person's going to come along. I think some people get kind of stuck. You can have kind of like this scarcity mentality, like this is the only person for me, and it didn't work, and now my life, you know what I mean? It kind of leads to that versus having kind of this abundance thinking, which is like, okay, this didn't work, but there's other people there. So I think some people, it's truly that kind of emotional piece, in other circumstances, I mean, there are some people that, have some mental health issues and these kinds of things that make it hard for them to move on. And then money, some people, it's like, hey, they're interested in that money piece. And I don't know. I think some people are interested in prolonging, the communication with that soon to be X2. It's like, okay, once the divorce is done, then we can't talk no more. We're not going to be around each other. Let's drag this thing out. Now I still kind of have, strung along kind of thing. But yeah, it's not a good thing. I mean, for most people, it just costs you a lot of attorney fees, costs you a lot of money, causes a lot of stress, causes a lot of anxiety. Most of these judges have little patience for that.
Yeah.
They want these cases moving through. And so, yeah, I mean, for people, if they're kind of there when the divorce begins, seeing a counselor is, I think, a good thing, and trying to, move on, work through these emotions in a productive way versus an unproductive way of like revenge and prolonging things, because that's not beneficial to
It
anybody.
does not. Yeah, it does not. Well, Kurt, let people know we have viewers all across the country. We may have some in the states that you do law in. So please let people know how they can get in touch with you and your law firm. We'll add that to the link in the bio once this goes live. But let people know where they can get in touch with you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. We got a webpage. It's stangelawfirm.com. I mean, the way you spell that is like strange, but take out the R. So STANGE lawfirm.com. Our phone number is 855-805-0595. We're a multi-state divorce and family law firm, so we're kind of a rarity in that realm. We're in 9 states today. We've got 29 offices. We represent men. We represent women, roughly equal ratios. And so we can help a lot of clients in these multi-state, in some cases you got people living in different states or somebody wants to move. And I think that's a big, important, helpful piece as well. But yeah, stangelawfirm.com, 855-805-0595 is the number. So we'd be, honored if anybody needed our assistance and reached out.
I'm going to put that in the chat. And then, like I said, I'll add it to the bio on this episode. A lot of people had questions about prenup. And I think, just what you shared definitely gave me some insight on just, it being something that definitely can be helpful as opposed to hurtful. You know what I mean? So, yes. And I love what you just said about the scarcity mindset as opposed to the law of abundance. Like, that's awesome.
Huge.
I've never looked at divorce like that, but that's awesome.
Yeah, you have to think there's somebody else out there that maybe is going to love you better. There's somebody else that's a better fit for you. You have to think that way. And some people get stuck and think, oh, this is it. And it's like, it's not. Another way people can reach out too, if anybody has any questions, just email info@stangelawfirm.com. You can email your questions there, and we'll be glad to respond.
All right, put that in the chat too. Well, Mo, you have anything else before we let our guests go?
I appreciate if I ever need your services. If I'm States,
yeah,
they holler at you. Well,
I appreciate it.
I like the what is it called? The
posting up.
No, but you don't have to get married, but the commitments. The
commitment ceremony.
Yeah,
very common. You can have somebody come and do the ceremony, and you can do vows. You just don't get the marriage license.
Yeah, I see one of these chicks act right. I'll get to that, but I like that.
It's good. It's good. It's good. It's a good thing. I think a lot of people.
Yeah, my godfather did it, and he's very happy. I mean, he met and fell in love at like 84, and she was 91.
Yeah.
And they did not want to get married officially because of they both had spouses that were deceased, and they didn't want anything that the spouse left them to go. and they did it at Lake Lanier, like not Lake Lanier, but a Lake Oconee, and it was beautiful, and they're happy, you know.
Yeah, and you could do that and then put TOD on the bank accounts and then, make each other beneficiaries of life insurance policies, these things, do your wills. So you could still pass all your assets to the person, that you're committed to in the same way. But it's just if you split up, then you don't have to deal with the courts.
Yeah.
Love it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Well, I think you've given Mo something to chew on. He definitely believes in the law of abundance. He is definitely a man that believes that there are many options for him. So
That's good. That's good. That doesn't keep you stuck. That's a good thing.
Thank you so much, Kirk. And we definitely will reach out again if we have more questions. We'd love to have you come back. And we'll send this clip over to your publicist. But thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight.
Oh, I really appreciate it. It was an honor. Thank you.
All right. We'll see you. Hopefully you won't get too many. Well, maybe you want some because that's actually probably good for business. So, hey.
It's good for business. Yeah, please. info@stengelawfirm.com. Yeah, we'll be glad to help. All right.
Sounds good. All right. Have a good evening.
All
right, guys. That was fun. I like him. I've never heard that. I don't, always look at divorce as something negative, but maybe if you think, this is supposed to happen and there's somebody else out there for me that's going to love me.
You know what's funny?
What?
We said it's the prenup thing is starting to become the norm, right? You notice how that's when women start becoming the breadwinners. Now,
here we go.
It's not so bad now.
Here we go.
Think about it. When you talked about, well, back then they weren't working and this, that, and other, now they are, and they get into the bag, and now they're the breadwinners. Now, when they want the prenups and they won't give up, now prenups aren't that bad.
You always bring it around to slandering women.
Gotta be a reason why it's not that bad no more, more common from both parties. But I love it though. I love it. Commitment ceremony. Also, did you know in California, without a prenup, it's automatically half?
I did know that. Because a lot of celebrities have that issue.
Well, that's why Eddie Murphy got married in New York instead of.
And it didn't do him any good because he still lost a lot of money.
Trust me, he was good. He made $20 million a movie. He's
still good. Yeah, and he's still getting the residuals from Shrek. That's his highest paying project.
Hey, man.
Donkey.
Yes.
That's crazy. All the stuff that Eddie Murphy has done playing a donkey in Shrek has given him has made him.
Who would have known?
Who would have thought? Who would have thought? He did have to give up grip, but he's married now, isn't he?
I don't know if he's married to Paige or not, but he was shortly married, and it was like a second to Tracy.
They did not get married.
So no,
they did.
No, it was quick second. No, there's pictures, and they got off some island he owns or something. They did get married for a hot second, but it got annulled or whatever it was.
You got annulled. That's what it was. Yes, and that's weird. I remember it got annulled. I remember that. Tracy Edmonds, that is so crazy. It ended after 2 weeks. They had a spiritual ceremony of Bora Bora, but they decided to forego the legally binding ceremony and just remain friends. They announced their separation 2 weeks after the spiritual wedding. What?
I heard it was the moms, but I don't know. But she's an interesting lady.
Ooh.
That Tracy.
Well, I was just thinking about, speaking of Tracy, yesterday everybody was talking about Deion Sanders.
Yeah.
And the fact that he did a press conference to basically announce that he had dealt with bladder cancer. He's over it now. They removed his bladder. I don't know exactly what that entails or what that means for him.
He's Deion, man.
Yeah, but he's in a relationship with Karuchi. And there was a young lady, my girlfriend sent me this video of a young lady saying, Karuchi is with that man to get them coins because Deion Sanders has a different type of coins than rappers. Like he's been wealthy since the 80s. So she definitely came up from Chris Brown and then Quavo. That's a different type of money, but and it's 20-year age difference. She's 35 and he's 59. But what do you think? What are your thoughts on that relationship? I feel like no harm, no foul. She's there for the money. Must be the money. No pun intended. He's with her because she's young and he can probably do whatever he wants. He was with Tracy. That didn't work out. Your thoughts on that?
If the woman is of a certain age, and I want to talk about that too, age thing, because I saw something very disturbing. I heard something very disturbing this week. But yeah, I mean, of a certain age, man, if they two people are happy and that's what they want to do, nobody's breaking any laws, and she's of a certain age. Even if she's legal, I still don't think it's quite right. But I think she's of a certain age, and so
yeah, she's definitely like she's not in her 20s. She's 35. Right?
He was dating Cruz. What's the name? Cruz. They used to be the wide receiver for New York Giants.
I don't follow football like that.
What's the brother's name? Can't remember his name. Cruz's last name. Can't remember. He's from New Jersey, but he played for he was a wide receiver for the New York Giants. And then he fell to injury, never came back. And she was with him for a hot second. And then I don't know if because his money.
Victor Cruz.
My man, Victor Cruz, the one.
Hey, you there? Yeah.
So I don't know what her motives are, and it very could possibly be. But I like the fact, and she could be there protecting the bag and watching over. But I like the fact that she was there. Some women be like, "Oh, you got what?"
No, Mo. No women would be like, "You got what?" If it's Deion Sanders.
I done had the flu, and I had some people ain't call me back.
You, sir, are not Deion Sanders. Okay, I'm sorry, friend.
House.
What?
I'm the Deion Sanders of my house. Mind your business. Listen,
you may think you are.
That's not the point.
It is the point. It is the point. She's sitting up there crying. That man got 8 toes and no bladder, and she's crying because he's Deion Sanders. That would not happen with the average American man. You ain't the Deion Sanders. Man, please. Please. That's like if I said I was the Janet Jackson of my house. I ain't doing what that lady's doing. I'm just saying, y'all equate that to that. We like a man that has security.
The principle of it is the fact that they're supposed to be there. I've had situations, we're supposed to go out.
I just told you the women are there for the money.
That's what
must be the money. Deion said it. He sang it.
No, and God bless him. He had Pilar. That's her name.
Pilar, yes.
So he went through a bad divorce with her.
He did. I remember that.
Let's be clear. He went through a bad divorce for her. She's still around. He don't like to even be in the same room with her, really.
Not now.
If he can, no, this has been for a long time.
Yeah, I'm saying, I worked for his charity foundation, and they were cordial at that time. Hey, you there says, so how come Carucci's okay, but Tracy ain't, Mo?
No, I'm just saying being there.
No. You said Tracy was a weird lady, and then you say Carucci, you're like, yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
No. What are you comparing it to, though? I'm confused.
We're asking why did you say Tracy was weird and you like?
No. I just said the energy with Tracy. I think Tracy's a beautiful woman, but she don't look like she's there for the bag or something. But
Tracy has her own bag.
No, but my whole point is the situation like with Eddie, with a baby face, and she didn't have her bag then. She started to get her bag when she got with Face, and she started getting into film production.
He was already doing that. That's how he met her. Don't
No. She was in his video. She was a video girl.
But she's had her own company, Mo. It might not have been as successful, but she was. Don't do
she
it.
Was a video chick.
Okay, whoa. Just because she was in a video does not mean that is the sum total of her existence, and that's all she was a video chick. She is beautiful, so even if she had a full-time thriving company, she still could be in a video.
No, I get that, but most chicks, Christal, you got a company. You gonna be in a rap? You gonna be in the R&B video?
You know what? Can I tell y'all a story? when I first, you know what? You mind your business. I reverse it on you. When I first started working in PR, in fact, when I met Mo, the company that I was working for also represented T.I., and this was during trap music. So they were shooting one of the videos we were shooting for. It was on a soundtrack. It was called "I'm a King." So we were there at the video, and I had only met him with the lady whose company it was, because I was like a junior publicist at that time. It was me, and then there was an intern, and then the lady who owned the company who he had the relationship with. So he came over to the table and he was talking to us, and he said, "Do y'all want to be in the video?" For a split second, I was for a split second I was flattered. I was like, oh, because this was when I first got here, and I first got here, and I felt like only like model girls were in videos. So the fact that T.I. was like, "Y'all want to be in the video?" I was like, well, maybe I do. Maybe I do. And then I came back to myself and I was like, no, I'm working. And then, but the other girl, the intern, who was probably 29, and Tammy, I was doing my thing. Okay, I was doing my thing. But the other girl was like 20, and she was like, "I want to be in the video," and I was like, "No, we could not be in the video." But so first of all, I could have, okay, I could have been a stand-in. Second of all, what I learned on that shoot, because I had been on several other videos. I think my first one was like David Banner. You remember that run, the don't play with it. That video, I think, was the first video I was on. I was on set working as a publicist. But when I was on that video and then working with T.I., because I did several of his videos at that time, I learned that the guys, I thought they would all be just standing around the video girls. But they really weren't. They were so used to it. They just they spent time talking to us about real stuff, and the video girls were like touching each other and half naked. It was just weird. But I learned a lesson that men actually do value conversation and real women. Now, after the video was over and it was time to play, they did not value us and wanted to go have fun. However, you can moonlight as both, as I feel Tracy was. And please don't try to dim down my shine, Mo. Okay, I was asked to be in the "I'm a King" video, and I chose not to, but it could happen. It could happen.
Christal chose not to be a video vixen for this video. Okay, cool. But my point with Tracy is, that has nothing to do with it.
I didn't have an outfit though. I wonder what I would have put on. I wonder what would have happened if I said yes. Like if I could go back and like rewind, because I had on like jeans and boots, and I wonder and all the girls in the video were naked, almost like very, very. So I wouldn't have had an outfit. So I appreciate him asking. Just I'm just saying. I do appreciate it.
My thing with Tracy is this: I still haven't, because I don't know enough about her. That's why I said she just seems funny. Like, not that she couldn't be or grow, because I like to see where she was at. I like the Good and Plenty,
yes,
Soul Food, and all these things she helped produce. I'm not that. I'm just saying. I'm just trying to figure out: is it really real, or is it a come up? Because the Eddie Murphy thing, the way it happened so fast, and then it was with Dion, and the reason why I say is because her and Dion, to me, just never fit. He is a sports guy, and she always looked uncomfortable. Like, even if you see where he was going to Colorado from Jackson State, and just her look on her face, and they almost got into a spat on the field. You can look it up. And she just never seemed like she was like the sports, the you know what I'm saying, like that thing to me.
I never saw it, because she was on his show. I thought they were cute together. Because I will say, from working with Dion, but I'm just saying, the reason I'm saying that is because Dion is one of the few athletes that I really feel is very, well, I don't want to say that. That's not right.
He don't smoke. He don't drink.
He's very intelligent. He's very evolved. Now that I don't know what he is like with women, because in this video, this woman was saying he still wants to. He's an egotistical man that likes women he can control. But because Tracy is so smart and such a powerhouse, I liked them together. I really did. I thought they were a great fit. I thought not just look, but as far as like each having their own thing going on, I like that. I did. I was, and they were together for quite a while.
She didn't look comfortable in Texas. She looked comfortable in Hollywood. Then you go to Colorado. It just didn't seem like, to me, that was her space. And Karrueche being young, once again, this is someone I don't, and it might not be her space. He might be in the space of his life where, you know what, he'll deal with this for now. He just wants to be around one pretty woman, and once that phases out, he's on to the next pretty young woman, and maybe he doesn't. I don't know the brother. I'm just saying, the guys that I know that like that, if you look at all the football coaches and their wives, like they're heavily involved in the man's career with the team, and they're like the coaches, they're like the mother to all the players' wives. She doesn't come off that way. That's all I'm saying.
I can see that because she has. I see what you're saying is like the women that are with men, especially someone like Dion, who is a coach and who's consumed with that. She has her own thing going on. The episodes of the show that I saw both of them on, it did seem like a struggle because she was flying off to do her thing. He was doing his. And they both seem very busy. And what I have learned about powerful men is they really prefer a woman that can just has no dream of her own. She can just have his dream. His dream could be their dream. But Karrueche don't have any acting gigs. They're not coming up quickly. So she probably is fine to sit there and cheer and be cute in the stands. And there is, Dion has been wealthy since the 80s. Her ex-boyfriends were probably born in the 80s. So there's two very different things. And as far as like her being able to look up to him, she was in a very crazy relationship, obviously with Chris Brown, and then a foolish relationship with Quavo. I don't know about the Victor Cruz, but I did hear he was unfaithful. Duh. And I'm sure Dion will be as well. Of course, he probably won't be moving around quite as quickly without a bladder and toes. But still, I'm just saying, he's still gonna, and I know she's on the shy, but I'm just saying that's not enough. Did you hear us talk about the lifestyle? That is not giving her enough for the lifestyle that she's used to. So
with that being said, in situations where you see like Nia Long I don't know if she was actually married to the brother.
No, they weren't married, they were engaged.
But in situations like that, when you see these celebrity women, the Hollywood women, like they, it seems like they need coach. It seems like the women that were heavily in athletics and themselves could deal with a man like that because they know what it is. And who
would that be? Who would be the women that are heavily involved in athletics themselves?
What's her name used to be, and that's why she picks athletes. Gabrielle Union.
What sport did she play?
I think she played volleyball and something else. She was always been like a sports girl. But those are the type of women that these men see to, because what happens is all the players, she's like the mother to all his players, wives. And they got their little teams. Like you seen what was the show that used to be on BET?
The Game.
The Game, and how that's how that really, really is.
I did think that Gabrielle ran track, but she might have done volleyball.
It might have been track.
I thought it was track.
It might have.
It says Dion wants to be like Bill Belichick. And I think he should. Karrueche is not that though. But I think she's like a chameleon, and she can go wherever because she was with the rappers and then the athlete, and then she's she just wants that check. And I think it's a level of like, for women, it's hard to go backwards with the level of guy that you are with. So I think she was with Chris Brown, who there's really no one else in the entertainment world that's bigger than him. And then she tried to go to Quavo, which was a horrible mistake. But at the time, they got together. Bad and Bougie, the Migos were the biggest thing in hip hop at that time. And then Victor, I think she's just doggy paddling, trying to snatch onto something, and because she's a beautiful Blasian woman, she'll be able to, because that's the look that the rich men are after. And I we'll see how long that lasts, but it's definitely, the ball is in his court. Her sitting there crying, I'm not giving her points for that, because I think she could be realistic, or she could just be happy that she's with a very wealthy man, and she's in her, and her payday is up. Interestingly enough, it pissed Chris Brown off.
I saw that tweet. Yeah.
The thing about Chris Brown is hilarious to me. He really is mentally off, because the fact that I'm not mad that he felt like that, because I think a lot of exes, when they see their girl, the one that got away, when they see her with someone that probably, but the fact that he would put that, the fact that he would put it in his story when he knew that people are going to say something is definitely proof that he needs to be on medication.
That's the thing. Like, that's your old work. So you imagine how he felt when old girl was pregnant.
First of all, do not refer to a woman as old work.
Listen,
don't.
That's his old work. He could be her old work. It's all good.
Well, let's say it like that. Let's say that Deion Sanders is Tracy Edmonds' old work.
That's fine. I ain't got no problem with that. But now we're talking about his old work. Now, here's the thing. Was he? I wonder how he felt when Rihanna was pregnant the first.
Well, he congratulated her.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know if he was really happy for her.
That part.
He is just I think he feels like everyone that was his ex still belongs to him. Well, no. I feel like he feels like those two belong to him. Because I think all these baby mamas that he has, I don't think he really cares about. The Karrueche, he's bothered by. He put her in several songs.
Because
Rihanna, he's bothered by. Huh?
Because she left him.
Yeah.
That's how it go, ladies.
As did Rihanna. Whatever.
I live with it, brother.
He's not living with it. It has been years, and he said it still pisses me off. No, Edna, I love Chris. Okay, we love, but we have to admit, our brother is touched. That's what makes him so good. I think his passion and the fact that he is just 100% an artist, and he loves hard, and he fights hard, and he gets angry. We love him, but I wouldn't want my daughter to go out with him. I like to go watch him. My daughter's obsessed with him, but we don't go backstage. Stay on this part of the stage and watch. Don't go back there, because there's danger. There's danger. It's interesting that Deion Sanders' daughter was with Jacquees.
Yeah.
They didn't go well.
Most of them don't.
And then Deion told her to leave him alone. Well, you got a dad like Deion Sanders. Hey, that's...
He knows.
Yeah. Interesting. No, yeah, my daughter cannot have the VIP package with. And do you know that she asked for it? She was like, she didn't ask me to pay for it. She said that she was going to pay for it. And I told her, I said, first of all, that is not a good use of your $1,000. And what she does know, I'm pretty good friends with his manager. So we usually go to all his concerts, and we have great seats. But where I could get her backstage, I will not. Because I said, first of all, you will not play yourself by being in a picture with him disrespecting you from behind. Like, did you see the pictures of his meet and greets?
I saw some of them. I said, yeah.
Not gonna do it. And if my child were to lose herself, I would have to whoop her behind. I don't want to do that to a grown woman. But I would.
Oof.
Can you imagine you look up and there your child is bent over with him behind? Girl, no. Not for $1,000. I'm going to tell Chris Brown to get on his knees and bark like he want. No. The girls get to tell him what to do. They probably do. Speaking of that, did you see the video? And I should have pulled this, but I'm sure there's a video of
Duke Dennis.
Yes, and the girl says, "You're Luke Dennis," and she says, "Do you want some head?" And he says, he's thrown off, and then he tries to do the right thing as a man. He pulls her to the side, and he says, "Don't ever do that again." He's trying to actually give her some brother to sister advice. She does not receive it. She says, "I know, but you're Luke Dennis." He was like, "It doesn't matter." He's trying to reason with this, I don't know, with this bird. And she says, then she's like, even she can't snap out of and realize he's trying to talk to her as a Black man trying to protect Black women. That is an example of how you protect Black women. He's trying to tell her, this is not the way, sis. And instead she says, "Oh, you touched my titty accidentally."
The camera is on. Let's be clear. And the first thing is that can mess up his brand if he responds with the wrong answer.
So you think that he was not trying to help a sister?
No. I'm not saying he wasn't, but he also has to be mindful that the camera's on.
That's true. That's a good point. That's a good point.
And they have a brand. These influencers are becoming bigger or as big as a lot of these rappers. So he's doing the right thing. And salute to that brother. I've seen him curve a couple things on camera. Now, what he does in his private life is what he does in his private life, and he's only going to respond to things in private, but, and then also, once you do that, you never know what other people's motives are. So when it's coming at you that fast, you should turn it down, because there's something behind it and it could be danger. So on all the board, the brother did the right thing, whether the camera was off or on, and salute to him.
I do, and I honestly don't think that he did it just because the camera was on. And I'm gonna tell you why. I think his motives were honest, because he didn't have to pull her to the side and tell her, "Don't do that." That he was trying to explain to her that made her look bad. And he didn't have to do that. If he just was like,
how'd you know that? How'd you know he did that?
The camera was on.
Exactly.
But I'm just saying, you don't have to do that for the camera. He could have just did like he did it initially and said, "What?" Like he just kind of blew her off. But the fact that he pulled her to the side, because the camera's over here, he probably knew it was on, but he literally was trying to pull her away from the crowd and talk to her. And I just don't think that he had to do that.
No, that's not the first time that this happened. She was up close, but you hear women shout out things from a distance. Even during the Puff trial, you would hear women shout out, "Urinate on me" to Diddy's sons.
Oh my God!
Y'all can look that.
What's wrong with our women?
It gets crazy out here. Tupac's mother had mentioned, going through hotel lobbies to see her son, or when people would know what hotel he was in, and you've seen situations.
Yeah, I was at a party one time, guys. Not sure why I was there. Actually, I was there working. But it was T.I. and Michael Vick, and this was like in the early 2000s when Michael Vick was the biggest thing in Atlanta, and your girl was, again doing her thing. And I was in the lot. We were at Club 112, and I just have never seen women. Then I started to get angry, because you guys got to realize I was straight from corporate America. I'm out here with, this is when T.I. was just starting to really pop big with trap music. And Michael Vick is this huge star. So you also have Falcons players. You have, other rappers from Atlanta, Lil Scrappy and all these people here. And I remember thinking I thought listening to rap from Oklahoma, I felt like rap was so misogynistic, which it is. But that night I saw women objectifying themselves. And I got to be honest, and that was just that introduction. After that, I saw a lot more. But I remember that was one of the first times, because you have athlete groupies and rapper groupies in the same room, and they are aggressive. They are cutthroat. They don't care. They are trying to go for, and I don't even think they're trying to get these girls. A lot of them weren't even trying to get to the money. They just were trying to get to the bedroom. They were just trying to get a quick, to give some quick oral in the elevator, like taking off clothes, kissing on each other, doing stuff just to be in the vicinity and get attention. And I hear what you're saying, hey, you there, about being a byproduct of misogyny. However, if you saw some of the things I was exposed to, a lot of times it's not, it really is women trying to be chosen and feeling and just misusing their own sexuality. And I cannot blame the men for that, because I've seen men encourage things, but I've also seen women go above and beyond, and the men try not to deal with it. I've seen T.I. tell a girl off for trying to come at him, and she was literally trying to work. I've seen a lot of different men. Now, I'm not saying that they don't often take the opportunity, but a lot of times the women are forcing it, and then they will turn around and say they were taken advantage of. And it's like, nah, sis, I saw you pushing yourself on him even when he didn't want to. And then when he didn't want to, you went to his friend, his bodyguard. It is hard. I would leave heartbreaking. Mo knows I would like cry sometimes, because I just could not believe the women would do themselves like that.
Thank you for saying that, because that doesn't get said enough. It's always looked at with these men. But once you see it, and I'm not saying men don't take advantage of what's in front of them.
They do.
But usually they go to it. You don't have to come to them. When it's coming to them, the things that run through men's mind is this a setup? It's a lot of precautions that you take when you go on the road, especially when you're on tour. There's conversations and there's meetings had, and it'd be like, yo, don't do this as a crew. And everybody protect everybody. And that part is never seen.
I used to be in some situations, I was the person that I would try to have the girls come through me so that I would be able to protect the guys. Because there were times when, first of all, underage girls would try to come back there, and I'm like, nah, I need to see your ID. And with a man, he may or may not, if she's pretty ass, and I'm like, nah, I have to see ID before they get on this bus. Or you can't come back here. I remember, and I think I told this story on this channel before, I was in the studio with Usher and Young Thug and Polo, and these girls were in there just that nobody out of those three, they were not interacting with the women at all. Usher was trying, he had just finished performing and he wanted to work, and Thug was definitely locked in. Polo was focused on the music, you know what I mean? And these women were in there, and I remember Usher came over to them. He tapped one of them on the shoulder and he said, come here. And she was like, what? And he led them out of the studio and he closed the door. So you guys, a lot of times people give the men a really bad name, but I've seen them turn down. I've seen guys, man, come on. And the girl just keep on. Yeah, it was Usher and Young Thug. They actually were doing the record that they did, No Limit. But the record wasn't out. They were just working, trying to figure out something. But Usher was very polite. But he was also very irritated because he was trying to work, and the girls were just, oh my God, just, oh my God. And I'm like, girl, and so I was there and another young lady, but we were both publicists we were working with Polo at that time. So a lot of times it is not the men. It's not the men. Especially now, a lot of times it is. I have some stories about that too.
When you've been doing it for a high level for so long, and it's every city and yeah, but I'm glad you said that, and it's not to say that men don't do things. We're not.
Yeah, because I have stories that way too, and another day we'll go into that. But I just say, but for the women, but my thing is this: if you do not put yourself in a position, the likelihood of you being taken advantage of is a lot less. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, because it obviously does.
Right.
But it's a lot less. And there are places like, if you're not working, why are you just hanging out in the studio? I remember seeing girls, and this is no joke. I remember I have a friend that was working with, at the time there was a studio called Red Zone, and Jazzy Faye worked out of there, and The Dream, and Tricky Stewart. So there were girls that would come with another writer, try to get to Jazzy, and then try to get to dream. Like I've seen a girl come in with one guy and then leave with another one, and he get ready to leave and he'll be like, let's go, and she's like, I'm gonna stay here.
Hey.
What? And I've seen it. Like I have clocked it myself. So and then if the don't laugh at me. So then if the girl later ends up, because a lot of times girls will offer to do different things, and then when it doesn't go the way they want it to, then they got a lawsuit, you know what I mean, or something like that. And I'm not saying all of them, but I've seen enough on both sides. And I've gone to events with Pharrell, but I don't know. I never worked with him. But I have clients that did.
Do you remember the situation? I had a listening thing at the studio, listening to some songs I did, and a chick came for me, and she brought her friend. They got into it, and I left with her friend. You know what I'm talking about, right? The girl name begin with an H. I don't want to say it.
I do.
Yeah. But that's how wild, and I wasn't even close to none of that level. And just imagine.
But is so you said that's how wild you were?
No, but I'm just saying, so if it happens on the little level I was on, imagine.
That just let us know what Mo was into. See, I didn't even remember that part, but I do remember that girl who was, I'm just saying that just let us know how. In fact, why would you, that's just ridiculous that you did that. I forgot about that. I also remember another time you were in the studio and you were working with these producers, and you guys had girls in here doing some sexy sounds. So I was like the person that would mess everything up, right? And I stand by the fact that was my role, and I loved it. So it's all guys in the studio except me and some girls that are supposed to be the sexy voice. They're doing some moaning on the song. Mo had this song that they needed moaning on. And so they brought in these two girls and put them in the vocal booth, and the girl starts moaning on in the vocal booth to make the sexy sounds. So I'm watching because I'm trying to I'm thinking that let me make sure these girls are safe. That's what I felt like that was my job. I'm in there. It's all these guys. They're all full of it. They're like making little comments about the girls. I am the enforcer. I am the hammer. Okay. So I'm like, let me make sure that they don't touch these girls or bother these girls. I go in the booth to tell the girl, because one of the producers kept trying to get her to be more sexy. And I was like, are you okay? And she was like, yeah, what do you think? And I was like, I mean, just, whatever you feel. The girl takes her top off. She had like a crop top. She takes the top off, and then her girls are just sitting there, right? So I'm like, whoa. I said, nobody asked you to do that. And she said, I know. And I was like, you don't do that. Nobody has even offered you any money. Like, you're just taking off. Free titties is out. Like, these are just free titties at this point. And then the guy is telling me to shut up. But the girl, I tell her that she doesn't need to take her shirt off. She giggles and leaves it off. I think I got so pissed at everybody, I think I left out and went outside. But I was disgusted with it. But they did not ask that girl to do that. They were telling her to be sexy, and I guess she felt like she was going to get sexy by taking her top off. And she didn't have, it was just free titties. And then I told her, don't do that. If they ask you to do that and you want to, cool. But if you offer to take off your top and show the free titties, where is this going to go? What else is free? Okay. So I was just I got mad at all of them. I was mad at Mo. I was mad at the producers. I was mad at everybody. And the girl, stupid girl. Stupid girl. Did you mess with one of those girls?
I took it down a couple of days.
It's not funny, Mo. It's not funny.
At her apartment. But
I get so upset with them. Ugh.
At her apartment in Union City.
Okay. All right. I did not know. I did not. This is a total different situation than the other girl he just talked about. Let's get off tonight, Mo. You irritated me then. I feel the irritation coming back now. Yes. But Friday, We're back. Ready to Love is back.
Is it back tomorrow?
It's back on the 1st, which is Friday.
Oh, so that's when we say we're doing half and half, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Friday, we're going to start with, in fact, I think we should do Ready to Love for 10 to 11 and then Love and Marriage Huntsville.
Woo, let's do it, man.
Yeah.
I'm
Ready
watching,
to Love.
I'm watching Love and Marriage Huntsville tomorrow. So I have it fresh.
Yeah, we'll do that the second hour. The first hour we'll get right into Ready to Love.
Is it 8 o'clock, Ready to Love?
It's 8 o'clock.
I'm there.
8 o'clock like before, right back like they ain't leave 6 months ago. Friday night. It won't be Saturday, it'll be Friday night. I did enjoy the game, you guys. I have I'll put up a video pretty soon. I enjoyed the game. However, Tammy, I mentioned earlier, someone threw a dildo onto the court. I'm not sure why. Atlanta is not a real place. And then T.I.'s son, Damani, and DC Young Fly performed. It was interesting. I did, yeah, and I saw Brittany Griner play. That was really cool. And also Alicia Gray, who was really, really dope. But seeing the women in their tunnel outfits, seeing the women with their faces right, like it's really dope seeing, even if it's not at the same stadium. It was in a big enough stadium. It was packed out, and people really are embracing, women's basketball. And that makes me happy. Even though for a long time I didn't embrace women's basketball because the women that played basketball were usually very mean to the cheerleaders. I do want to say that the cheerleaders were not they didn't have cheerleaders. They had like a pep squad. I ain't like that.
It's coming around with these new
They needed some real cheerleaders.
Caitlin Clarks and the and what's the other young lady's name? That plays for Chicago. Like, it's turning around. They're starting to have a face for the league. So I'm happy for them. It's coming. It's coming.
Yeah, I think, that Brittany, I did not realize she played for the Dream until I got there. She's dope. And then, like I said, but the other, so they played Golden State. Golden State won by one basket. It was a tight game, very competitive. Those girls actually play, like they play.
Oh yeah.
I don't know the rules to basketball. And one of my good friends is a former athlete, and she played basketball in college, and then she coached. And I don't understand she was like, well, how did you cheer if you don't even know the rules? I was like, when we have the ball, we say offense. And when we don't, we say defense. That's it. That's what I know. When we have the ball, we say, offense. Oh, I know those cheers. I know the defense cheers. That's it. I mean, we don't have to know the specifics and what positions do what. I don't need to know those things. I just know how to cheer for the game. But yeah, I felt like I was growing because I was cheering on women. And I'm telling you and so maybe some short women in the comments that can attest to this. A lot of times those tall basketball players with the big shoulders were not very nice to the rest of us. They weren't. But I mean, we've all grown. Maybe it's not like that anymore. But they were some bullies back when I was in school. I'm just saying. Eek. Yes. PRMB says, thank goodness Biden was president to get Brittany home. Yes, I agree. That was just, I was watching her play last night, and I was like, wow, it's so crazy to think that not very long ago, she was in a prison and we didn't know if she was going to be able to come home.
For a vape. Ain't that crazy?
Yeah. Yes. We didn't know that they were studs back then because nobody called them studs, but the girls in high school with the very sharp haircuts and the big shoulders that were tall. Hey, I mean, just saying. They were not very nice. I had friends I had two girlfriends here that were tall, and I was just like, I never liked y'all because they were just always so mean. They were mean. We had a different set of priorities. You know, they thought my priorities were stupid. I thought theirs were those of a man. And, you know, come to find out they were for some of them.
Some of them.
Right. Not all of them. Right. But yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it. I definitely want to go back. And I'm glad people are supporting. I'm glad that they're getting they're getting endorsements. Black Girl Vitamins is an endorsement, endorses the WNBA. The Honey Pot that I actually was there doing a press day with, they sponsored them. And so, you know, I know that men may not understand, but to see in a stadium them to have pads, tampons, and everything out, and it to be like normalizing self-care for women in healthcare, it's good. I didn't say, no, I said some, Tammy. I didn't say all of them were not studs. Definitely all of them are not studs. I'm saying some of them, and maybe the ones that have the most attention because they play like boys, because they kind of, Brittany Griner is, okay? I'm just saying. I'm not saying that not all, but definitely it's a whole heap and help. A heap and help. But I also feel like I was looking at her, like, she's so tall. And so, like, she probably was born to be a stud. How could she be not?
Hey, y'all want tall men. Sometimes this is the result of having tall men.
Well, I mean, if you have a tall girl is one thing, but a tall masculine girl is another. Like one of the ladies that was with us, she's a style and fashion editor for Cosmopolitan. She was tall, but she was gorgeous, and not just physically beautiful, but very feminine. Like, you didn't get masculine from her. I'm talking about the ones with the big shoulders.
The roll of the dice. You never know what you're gonna get.
Yeah, you know. Well, I got a tiny child. I have a tiny girl. My girl is barely 5 feet, so.
There it is.
This is not PR said this is not a healthy conversation. We all have our own things that we have to grow through. And I'm speaking from a perspective of when I was a lot younger and I would be, and I was a cheerleader and I did not like the basketball players and they did not like us. But that's not the case anymore. So I'm just saying, I think that it's great. I think that things are good because they're changing. And I just have always just joked about, you know, how they were bullies. There was this one girl, I'm not going to say her name, that I went to high school with. She was so mean. She's mean. But she was hell with a basketball though. Brittany did have her breast removed. I think she's she wants to be called a man, because I know she's having a baby with her significant other, and she said she's going to be the pops. So I think she's going full. But I mean, when you look at her, she looked like that anyway, like even before she had the breast removed. So I think she's probably more comfortable going all the way because she just never looked feminine. And I don't think it was because of cancer prevention. I think it was because she doesn't want breasts, because she wants to be called pops. Come on, y'all. How did we get here? I'm sorry. Let's rewind. Let's go back to the to Mo in the studio with the girls.
No, I'm done. Don't put it back on me. I'm done.
All right, y'all. We're gonna get out of here. We will see you on Friday for 2 episodes. First, we're doing Ready to Love. Then we're doing Love and Marriage Huntsville. We're gonna do them back to back so that people that want to watch one can watch that. But you should hang out for both with us as always. And yeah, that's it. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be good stuff.
Ready to Love. Watch it at 8 o'clock Friday, y'all. And we're going to talk about it at 10.
At 10. And then we're going to talk about Love and Marriage Huntsville at 11. And then we'll get to a weekend. All right. We love y'all for watching. Let us know in the comments what you thought about tonight's guest. Leave a kind message for our guest, Kirk Stange, that hung out with us earlier today and talked a lot about prenups and divorce and what we need to be looking for and what we can do to make it better and all those type of things. So I appreciated his insight, and good luck to Simon Gabadia paying $40,000 a month for 15 months. That is wild. Woo. Yeah. Shouts out to Portia. All right, y'all. We'll see y'all Friday. Have a good one. Finish the week strong, and we'll see you guys for the weekend. All right. Good night.